Coverage you can count on begins at 4 with the latest on the breaking news we've been bringing you all day long. New at 4, the pilot in that deadly plane crash in Augusta has been identified. News Channel 6 confirming Jason McKenzie, who worked at Augusta University as an associate director of philanthropy, was the pilot and the victim in the crash. The news also confirmed by First Baptist Church of Augusta, where McKenzie was a member. His plane, bound for New Haven, Connecticut, when it went down in the front yard of a home at the intersection of Hillcrest Avenue and Belmont Drive. That's in the Forest Hills neighborhood of Augusta. It happened about 7:12 this morning. The neighborhood heavily populated with homes. The plane did hit some trees before it went down. It did not touch those homes. McKenzie confirmed to have been the only one on board, and he is certainly being credited tonight with saving lives by avoiding all those houses. FAA investigators, by the way, reaching this scene about an hour ago, working to determine what went wrong aboard that plane. They say McKenzie was an experienced pilot. I knew him. He was a great pilot. About 800 hours of flying time just last year. They say there was no distress call because Daniel Field does not have a tower for that. They also say they are not going to speculate at this point on his flight path.
The airplane is here. We're not missing anything. Over my right shoulder, as you can see up in the tree, there is the outboard section of the left wing is up there, and we're making arrangements right now to get that down so we can continue our investigation. Also, several power lines were affected by this, and we're working with the power company in Georgia Power right now to restore power and make the scene safe so that the team can go in and start the investigation.
The NTSB says they're going to be out there for 24, maybe 36 hours before they take the plane over to Griffin, Georgia to investigate. News Channel 6's Barkley Bishop live now from Hillcrest Avenue. Been there all day long as well. And Bark, we talked about it before, but I'm telling you, Jason McKenzie is being called a hero.
Oh, a hero is just one of the many incredible words that's being described of Jason McKenzie. It's incredible. Brad, you were out here with me earlier, but for those viewers who hadn't seen this video yet, this is the scene. Look at how close that plane crashed to that house. An absolute miracle, especially this morning, whenever you have people walking out around 7 o'clock, you have people pushing their strollers and running, and it was a chaotic scene this morning. Very, very chaotic, quiet now, but like I said, nothing like what we saw just a few hours ago.
Pretty shocked. Didn't expect it.
Quiet Augusta neighborhood rocked Thursday morning. News quickly spreading that Jason McKenzie was the pilot of this single-engine plane that crashed in the front lawn of this home on the corner of Hillcrest Avenue and Belmont Drive.
Well, I went over there to see if anybody was in it or, but at that point it was too late. The plane had already exploded and was engulfed.
Investigators tell News Channel 6 around 7 a.m. McKenzie took off from Daniel Field, and shortly after, he tried to return when the crash happened, somehow navigating through the trees just enough to avoid another tragedy.
It's definitely a miracle. Just by looking at it, the pilot was well experienced, because otherwise he could have landed that plane, like we said, on a house, on top of a car.
District 3 Commissioner Catherine Smith McKnight, one of the many homeowners in this area.
It damaged trees and power lines and knocked out power, but he protected everybody else.
Augusta Fire Chief Antonio Burden with the same thoughts.
And we can only credit that pilot for that situation, for having the wherewithal to not involve another structure.
McKenzie leaves behind a wife and young son, and now they know what a true hero he really was, perhaps preventing more lives from being lost on a day these neighbors will never forget.
Stephanie McKenzie is his wife. I know her. It's heartbreaking for her family, but we do know that they have a strong knit community here that are going to rally around them, especially this pilot community that knew Jason so well. As far as the NTSB is concerned, they said they're going to be here throughout the evening, and that plane wreckage is going to be here for about the next 24 to 36 hours. Then they're going to come back this tomorrow morning and try to survey some more as well. And sheriff's deputies are going to be here to secure the scene throughout the night, and they are going to try to open up some of this area so that those who live in this area can get through a little bit faster tonight and in the coming days. But it's going to be about a week before we get a preliminary report from the NTSB. Of course, as soon as we get that, we'll bring it your way. Brad?
Barkley Bishop live in West Augusta. Thank you for your work today. The Exchange Club of Augusta remembering Jason McKenzie at its meeting this afternoon. Graham Lee is live in our satellite news center with that part of the story. Graham?
Brad, certainly mixed emotions today at the Exchange Club of Augusta. They celebrated their annual Youth of the Year Awards luncheon, but they mentioned him during their opening prayer. Now, his father, Don, was a longtime member of the Augusta Exchange Club, and members say Jason went to the Augusta Exchange Club fair as a child. That prayer led by former associate pastor of First Baptist Church of Augusta, Roger Murchison, who is a current member of the Exchange Club. I got to catch up with him after the luncheon, and he says the news is devastating, knowing what McKenzie meant to the community.
When you met Jason, you like Jason, friendly, outgoing. He's the kind of person that as you talk to, you realize he's very sincere and very open in life. Love to play golf, and so this community is sad.
Exchange Club President Mike Downing did not want to comment about the crash at this time. You'll hear more reaction from Exchange Club members tonight on News Channel 6 at 6. Brad?
Graham Lee. The quiet Forest Hills and Somerville neighborhoods really were rocked awake this morning by the sound of that crash. News Channel 6's senior reporter George Escalus standing by live for us. George, I'm telling you, for that neighborhood, the sound of airplanes coming and going from Daniel Field, that's the sound of everyday life there.
Brad, absolutely. It happens nearly every day and sometimes several times a day with the airport so close. These residents have an ear for airplanes. Now, residents I talked to say before the crash this morning what they heard wasn't usual. It was louder than normal, and there was a popping sound signifying to them something terribly was going wrong. So I asked them, with the airport so close, are they concerned about having the flight path directly above their homes?
I've thought about it a little bit this morning, and sort of, but not really. You know, like, we see planes constantly all day, and so it's just kind of one of those things. It's like something's bound to happen eventually, but you know, for the number of planes that have flown over a house, all things considered, it seems pretty safe, but you know, anything can happen.
Now, Becky Shealy, the longtime manager at Daniel Field, says any decision that would be made to prevent airplanes from flying over people's homes would have to be made by the FAA. That's not something Daniel Field could make on its own. Reporting live in Augusta, George Escala. Brad, back to you.
George, thank you. And really, it's rare, historically speaking, that planes flying out of or landing at Daniel Field crash. But yes, it happens. Think back to 2000. Remember a plane crashed into the brick retaining wall at the Augusta Waterworks building? Former Senator Tom Allgood, his wife, the pilot, all lost their lives. In 2020, a single plane crashed into a fence at the airport. The pilot trying to land the plane on the runway but could not stop. He suffered minor injuries. And in 2007, a plane carrying a pilot and student crashed into the Augusta Municipal Golf Course. Both were unharmed.